Hey, what is going on YouTube? This is RedGal619, and as you can see on the title below, yes, it is true. This is not clickbait. Honestly, I debated with myself for about 2 years straight, legit, to see if I should go ahead and just bring you guys the story time. Since I have decided to go ahead and bring you the story time, I'm going to give a disclaimer before I even start. I will be leaving out some names or changing some names just to protect the privacy of all of the people that are involved in this situation, okay? So at the time, I was a security officer for a hotel. I'm gonna leave that out, and which hotel I'm leaving out. And our duties required us to do several things, which entailed also doing wellness checks. Now, I wasn't initially given this call, and it happened to be the very first call in the morning. It was given to another officer who went up. After he went up, he soon came down because he was unable to get in contact with the guest. And when he used his card, after several attempts and knocks, he was unable to enter the room because the latch was engaged. You know, you could enter the hotel room, lock the door, and for further security, pop that latch and make sure nobody can come into your room. Okay, so he did not have his latch tool to get into the room and find out what's going on if the guest is even in there, because there has been several times where a guest had left the room and they slammed the door in such a way that the latch pops on and nobody's in the room, but the guest accidentally locks themselves out, because that very well could be the case. Okay, and like I said, this was the very first call in the morning for the security department, and it was dispatched out by two other guests that was with this guest. It was 3 gentlemen, and the gentleman that they were asking about did not show up at the airport. Okay, you know, so they called us and was like, you know, can you check on him? He did say he wasn't feeling well previously that night, and he called it early night and left us at the bar with our burgers and fries. So can you find out if he's okay, if our buddy's all right? Okay, so scale back to us, the security. The security officer, like I said, was unable to get into the room because the latch was on. So on his way down into the office, getting his latch tool to get, you know, to pop the latch, he asked me, you know, can you come with me just in case? And I'm like, you know, I'm running my mouth. It's morning time, taking forever to put my wires on and my radio and stuff. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll back you up. And it's crazy because we told the dispatcher, hey, if we give you a call, then this guest, there's a serious issue with this guest might be gone. And she was like, that's not funny, not this morning, it's way too early, not the first call. And I was like, hey, you never know. And it's true, you never know. Okay, this is a hotel, people come in and out, young and old, different ailments. Hey, it is what it is. This is part of the business. So we head down the hallway and get to the elevator. Elevator takes forever, like always, and then we get onto the elevator and head up to the 15th floor. Okay, so the elevator door opens, and me and the other officer get off, and I could tell you here and now, I really remember the heaviness that I felt as soon as I walked off the elevator. It was definitely a heavy aura or vibe or energy. It was just a heaviness. That's the best way I can describe it. You know what I'm saying? So we get up to the room. I'm going to, of course, not tell the room number. And we knock on the door and we call out to, let's call him Mr. Channel. Okay, we call out to Mr. Channel and we say, security, wellness check, Mr. Channel, are you okay? Are you there? No answer. Of course, we do several calls, maybe 3 or 4 other times, very loud, very crisp, very clear, no answer. So he uses his card to enter the room. Like we said, the latch is on. Pop the latch, first take. You know, also when he opened up the door, it was no smell that came from the room or anything, but it was definitely also a stillness, a distinct energy, almost like woo 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 woo. Just, that's the best way I can describe it. Just a very thick stillness, heaviness, just like the hallway. Okay, so we enter the room, and I see the first bed, which is empty, and then a second bed, because the room had 2 double beds in it. And Mr. Channel is laying on the second bed, farthest to the window, closest to the window, excuse me. And he's laying on his side, and he's very still, and he's not responding to us as we're speaking to him, entering the room, walking closer to him. So I didn't want to see his face, because I didn't know if his eyes were open, I didn't know if they were closed, I didn't know. I was very, very scared, but more in security officer mode, I guess. Okay, step 1, shake and shout. And that's what the officer did, not me. He put on his gloves and he shook Mr. Channel and was like, Mr. Channel, are you okay? Are you okay? Mr. Channel did not respond. Very stiff. Rigor mortis had already set in. And so when he was when the officer shook him, his whole body from the top of his head to his bottom of his feet shook, you know, simultaneously. So the officer did say he's cold. He checked his pulse. There was no pulse. He said, call down Renee to the dispatcher and let her know what the deal is. So I called down, and the dispatcher at first thinks I'm playing, and she was like, that's not funny. And I'm like, I'm so serious, Mr. Channel's gone, girl. That's exactly how I said it. Maybe I said it like, because I said it like that, like, call the ambulance, Mr. Channel's gone. And she was like, what? At first. And then she was like, in disbelief and almost kind of freaking out herself a little bit, like, what? And I was like, yes, just let them know we're in this room, we're with this guest, they're unresponsive. That's all you need to say, and I'll fill them in, you know, when they get here. So after that, when there's an incident, what we're supposed to do is one officer stays with, you know, the patient, the guest, the situation, and another officer goes down to the front drive where valet is and wait for ambulance, fire department, police to get there so you can give them the tea, give them a quick briefing, and escort them exactly to the location so nobody's confused on what's going on. So I asked the other officer, do you want me to stay with you? Because this is different, okay? This is a body now. This is different, okay? And he reassured me that he was all right, that I could go ahead and leave and go to the front drive. So after asking him a few times, he was like, I'm fine, go ahead. I said, all right. So I left and I went down to the front drive and waited for the ambulance that I heard luckily in the distance. So that day they got there really, really fast, okay? This was very, very different. This was very sensitive, you know what I'm saying? So when they asked me what's going on, I just told them I wasn't at liberty to say. And they're like taken back by that, because they know Renee will spell the hot tea. And they're like, go, you know, what's going on? They just prying me for information. They're like, finally they're like, you know, you super serious, which I was, you know what I'm saying? Because my mind is spinning, you know. And they're all like, is somebody dead? Did somebody die or something? And I just looked at them and I was like, you know, I'm not at liberty to say. You know, I mean, I didn't say yes, I didn't say no, but not saying either or is basically saying yes, right? Right. So here come the ambulance girl, and I let them know that, you know, just like I told the dispatcher what to tell them, I told them pretty much the same thing in front of valet. We have a guest in this room, he's unresponsive. And thank you for coming, of course, quickly. And I escorted them to the elevator so we can head up to the 15th floor and they can know the deal. So as we got on the elevator, they asked me, you know, the same thing like the valet. Was this guy get drunk or something? Or, you know, he was doing dos muchos. And I looked at him and I was like, no, Mr. Channel did. You know, they're like, what? And I was like, yeah. We went in there and we checked his pulse, and he has no pulse. He is cold to the touch, and he looks like as though, I'm not a doctor, but he's very stiff, as though rigor mortis has set in. And they got very serious. No more smiles, no more jokes. They got their shit together and got prepared to enter the 15th floor and into the room. And, you know, I escorted him into the room, and the other officer was still there with the body. And of course gave them their space when they entered, and they did their thing. They assessed the situation and they did confirm death. And you know, by that time we basically left the area and just kept it secure, so no other guests or hotel employees would wander in or try to figure out what's going on or whatever, you know, just try to keep the situation calm. And we had other managers there, you know. We're not going to go into all of that, you know. Anyway, as you can see my face, we had other managers there that had no idea the deal, but they wanted to give out orders. That's all I can say. And yeah, after about an hour, our manager and things of that nature told us to go and take a break and chill out, get a fresh air if we needed, if we wanted to go home early and everything. And I told him I was fine, you know, and so did the other officer. But after 2 or 3 hours, he did in fact decide to go home. They closed off the area because as far as they knew, it was a crime scene, you know. Even though the latch was engaged, nobody was there. The guy's, all his personal belongings were untouched. You never know. So, you know, they had to call detectives. The guys that were checking up on Mr. Channel earlier that morning were informed by the police on what we discovered. I couldn't I couldn't say anything. I didn't say nothing to them. I didn't comfort anybody. I just was in my own, like, my own bubble at that time. So yeah, I went home with it on my mind. It, you know, does go through my mind, not as much as it used to, but you know, I just felt like it was very sad. It was very sad to know that, you know, I just pictured Mr. Channel being dropped off by his wife, and now his wife has to pick his body up. You know, it's just like, you know how it is, just oh, okay baby, you go into a convention, I'll see you in 5 days, you know, 4 days, 5 nights, and you're on your way back. And that was not the case in the situation. So, you know, I don't really have no moral to a story or anything like that. It's just something that happened to me, very life-changing, made me reflect on my own self, made me appreciate my life and the air that I breathe every single day, you know, because it could be the last day. You never know, because Mr. Channel, from what his friends said, just wasn't feeling well that day. He felt increasingly worse that evening. He decided to go to the bar with them so they can eat burgers and fries so maybe he could feel better, and he didn't. He actually told them, I'm gonna cut the night short, you guys, and I'll see you in the morning, or I'll see you at the airport, I believe. I'll see you at the airport, and you know, take a bath, and you know, it just, unfortunately he didn't call for our services or call for, you know, any kind of help. He felt like maybe he could just take a shower and feel better, but unfortunately that wasn't the case for him. So yeah, you guys, it's just, it was something crazy. I'm glad it wasn't nothing gory. It was just simply a person transitioning on. Their name was called, you know. So I want to give you the story time. I will have more that are more lighthearted real soon. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Go ahead and hit that notification bell, and you will get all the other upcoming videos from me. Thank you so much for your time. See you later. Bye, you guys.